Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ralph LeDuc Page Guy channel. It is I, LeDuc, back here once again for another video. And it is Saturday. Worlds Collide is tonight on the WWE Network. But we're going to get to that maybe during the night. Maybe do a live reaction. Maybe do a review, depending on how I feel. But first, let's get down into what's going on tomorrow night. It is the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. It is the Royal Rumble. As the Royal Rumble is taking place live tomorrow, Sunday, January 26th, live from Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas. We have 8 matches on the card, minus the 2 Rumbles, which makes 6 matches in total of regular old wrestling. We're going to break them down and give you my thoughts and predictions. So without further ado, let's get it going. So first things first match on the card. Sheamus takes on Shorty G. This should honestly just be a squash match for Sheamus. I think Sheamus should just squash Shorty G. Just match starts, bro kick 1, 2, 3. Like Chad Gable's cool and stuff, but the whole Shorty G gimmick is so fucking stupid. And why are they wasting Sheamus's return feud on this? On him hating short people because short people is the weakness that has infested SmackDown. Like, is he gonna go just after midgets? Like, who's next? Fucking Hornswoggle? It's just, I just hope like Sheamus runs him over, and then I don't know if Sheamus is clear for the Rumble or not. Probably, I don't know. We'll see. But if Sheamus didn't declare for the Rumble, and like the Rumble 27 people declared, there's 3 spots left for the Rumble. 3 spots for surprises, returns, or maybe like NXT people. 3. That's pretty fucking ridiculous. Anyways, we'll get to the men's Rumble stuff at then. But I think Sheamus should easily win here, and this match should be on the kickoff. Following that is our first title match of the night. Andrade defends his title against the returning Humberto Carrillo. So this is a match that was based off what happened last Monday after Andrade defeated Ray in the ladder match to retain his title. He was going to do the hammerlock DDT on the concrete, but then the fan jumped the barricade, took off the Ray mask. Took it off, and it was Humberto, and he attacked Andrade to save Ray. So this should be an interesting. It's his return, so it'll be interesting to see what happens if Humberto wins or if Andrade retains. I think Andrade should and will retain, but I don't think it'll be clean. I think Zelina Vega is gonna get involved again, and it was so funny how they teased the breakup and stuff, and now they're not, they keep teasing breakups with all these fucking teams. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, they're doing it with Mandy and Sonya. One week, they're pissed at each other. The other week, oh, we're still friends. It's okay. And it's just, and they did the same with Andrade and Zelina. It's good that they kept them together, but since then, they've basically gone nowhere. All Andrade's done is feud with Rey Mysterio. So, he's revisiting a feud he had before, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And it'll be interesting to see if they put the belt on Humberto. I wouldn't be disappointed if they did. I mean, he's coming off. They might think he has enough momentum to put the belt on him, but I think they'll wait a little bit, and they'll probably put the belt on him around the Elimination Chamber in March, maybe. I don't know. Following that is the Falls Count Anywhere match between Roman Reigns and Baron, and I call him Baron Corbin when it's King Corbin, but it's shit-ass, bitch. Roman versus Corbin, Falls Count Anywhere match. This should be a cool little car wreck type of deal. It's going to be an absolute clusterfuck. They're going to fight all over fucking Minute Maid Park. They're going to fight in the crowd. They're going to fight in the dugout. I'm surprised they start using baseball bats and fucking baseball helmets or whatever to pay homage to the Houston Astros, the Major League Baseball team that plays in that park. For this one, sure, I think Roman wins. Corbin won the TLC match before, and Roman's gonna use this to get a win back, and I know the Usos and Drew and Bobby Roode are gonna get involved, or Robert Roode, my bad, but I think here Roman should win to at least get his win back and give him momentum heading into the Rumble. And I'd be surprised if Corbin eliminates Roman in the Rumble, but we'll see what happens. I think the feud for that one should end there, but it's Roman. He's gotta look strong, damn it. Following is Becky versus Asuka for the Raw Women's title. Becky facing the last woman to beat her clean. The last woman to beat her clean, that being Asuka at last year's Royal Rumble. And there was actually word that this feud was actually maybe planned for earlier, maybe even going into SummerSlam or even the Mania itself, until plans changed to where, I got a feeling plans changed for SummerSlam, and more than likely, because they were going to revisit this heading into SummerSlam, where Asuka was going to say Becky hasn't beaten me yet and blah blah blah, but instead they did the natty thing because Canada, and instead they did the slow burn. Well, they did the heel turn for Asuka in October, and they built back up to doing that match, including the TLC match last month. With that being said, I know a lot of people want Asuka to win because they feel like she has so much momentum as a heel and they've booked her so well that they feel her losing just kills it right there. And I agree to an extent. But I think the best call is still for Becky to win. Because if you have Asuka win, alright, she has 2 belts, Asuka 2 belts, but then what happens to your women's tag titles, which, she hasn't. We haven't seen a women's tag match on Raw, which the Kabuki Warriors are on, in back from earlier in the month of December. Those tag titles have officially become second fiddle, to the entire feud, and that's the value of those belts more than anything. But with that being said, like I said, I think Becky should win. I could take Becky winning and then Asuka beating the shit out of her, and then maybe they could set a rematch a little bit further down the road. It's hard because the next pay-per-view is Elimination Chamber, and it'll be interesting to see if they put one of the 2 women's titles inside of a chamber. They could even go put the women's tag belts inside the chamber. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think Becky wins here, especially to conclude the narrative that she finally got the one that got away in her win-loss record, that being Asuka, and hopefully set up her next feud for the Rumble, which we'll get to on in a few. So Becky wins. Bayley defends her SmackDown Women's title against Lacey Evans. I've said before to Simon and other people that I feel like this Lacey Evans face turn is just for this program. I feel like Lacey is, to me, is her character is done to a way that she should be a heel. But, what they did last night on SmackDown, where they had her be more of a sympathetic and tell her story and, try to make her seem more relatable to people, has me feeling in the way that they're going to make sure that Lacey's babyface run goes on for a little while. Does that mean that Bayley loses the belt? I really don't think so. I still don't think, as much as people are giving Lacey credit as a babyface and her gimmick, wrestling-wise, I really don't think she's ready to be a champion, and just generally, I do not feel like she'll be ready to be a champion and take those responsibilities. And just, solid question that I don't like Lacey Evans. I'm not her biggest fan, but I respect her and I enjoyed the interaction I got with her at the house show in Montreal. But, as a women's wrestling fan, Lacey isn't ready to be that champion. If she wins, what's next? Rematch with Bayley? Okay, I guess play for the chamber. What does that happen with Sasha? Because the original feud was Lacey versus Sasha. So I have a feeling Bayley will win, and she'll win not clean. Either she'll get a roll up or Sasha will distract her. I would be surprised that Sasha, comes out to distract her and gets to something, because with her, Lacey's daughter is probably gonna be at ringside in the front row, and Lacey's daughter smacks Sasha, slaps Sasha, whatever. Lacey gets distracted by that. Bayley rolls it up, 1, 2, 3, gets out of the ring, and Lacey has the field goal moment with her daughter who slapped Sasha, but Bayley retains. So I think that'll probably be the booking mode where it'll go. So I'll go Bayley retaining. And the last match that is non-Rumble is a WWE title strap match between Daniel Bryan challenging The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. So, Bryan had his first match at Survivor Series with The Fiend, and he lost, and he ended up coming back at TLC with the shorter hair, the shorter beard, the American Dragon, the Yes Movement, Daniel Bryan. And he's been pretty good so far as that. I've enjoyed him slowly reviving that gimmick and getting the fans back on his side. Bray's been interesting, he's still doing his thing, which is always good. But, it's going to be interesting to see after. I do think The Fiend retains here. Also, the strap match is being done in a way where it's by pin and submission only. So it's no count out, no DQ. And I remember the older strap matches was basically you had someone was strapped to another person. and they had to touch all 4 corners to win the match. And they're not doing that. It's just pin and submission, and it's no DQ, but you have a strap tying yourself together. So it'll be interesting. They could go a really interesting route with this, with The Fiend always supposedly disappearing. It'll be interesting to see where they bring this, what they do with it. I think this match could be really good. I know some people are nervous about it because it's a strap match, and not a lot of people are fans of strap matches. But I still think this could be a really good match on the card, and I go with The Fiend retaining his WWE title. Not a lot of new champions tomorrow night in Houston. Here come your Rumble predictions. I will start with the women. I'll give you my top 3 and a short reasoning as to why I believe they should or shall win. Start with the women's Rumble. At number 3 is Shayna Baszler. Now I know on Wednesday she said she's staying in NXT. She wants the belt back. She's going to go after Rhea, and Rhea's going to submit to Shayna 3 times. And Shayna seems to be really set to maybe staying in NXT. So that's why I put this pick at number 3. I would have probably put at number 2, maybe number 1 before. But I think this one's really a number 3 because I really have my doubts that she's going to do it. If she did, it's really just to set up the Becky Shayna feud heading into WrestleMania, where Shayna's going to face Becky looking for revenge for Ronda, and Shayna won the triple threat Survivor Series, but she didn't submit Becky. She submitted Bayley, and Becky attacked her after the match. So they laid the foundation. The seeds were planted for that. But it seems like they're maybe going to keep her in NXT, which isn't a bad call due to her being a really established star in NXT, and NXT, being in its current war with AEW. I have a feeling like they'll want to keep most people in NXT and not really send them up to the main roster. So that's why Shayna is at number 3. Number 2, numéro 2, is Ronda Rousey. Now, a lot of people put Ronda at number 1 because they feel, it's sort of the predictable way to go, which isn't a bad thing. Ronda comes back, wins the Rumble, and challenges Becky right away. She wants her belt back. The fluky finish at WrestleMania last year still haunts Ronda. She wants the belt back. She wants to prove that she's better than Becky, and Becky's going to, people are, they're probably going to build this up as, they're going to use the footage of the finish and say it's a fluke, and Becky never pinned Ronda. So Becky has to pin Ronda to legitimize what she did for a whole year. A little bit the same situation as they're sort of doing with Asuka, which is why they're doing at number 2. I don't necessarily think they'll do like the Asuka-Becky thing where Becky never beat Asuka, to doing Becky versus Ronda because Becky never beat Ronda cleanly. Which is why I'm a little hesitant to say this is the number 1 route they're going, and also because Ronda's a hard book to read. Is she gonna be in town? Is she not gonna be in town? Does she want to come back? Is she done for good? Is she still trying for her family with Travis? If she is she pregnant? It's really hard to follow, and I'm basically gonna take any report that comes about Ronda's location or wherever she's going to be for Sunday with a grain of salt until the Women's Rumble match happens. Because, 2018, she's going to Colombia, she's filming a mile 22. Next thing you know, she shows up when the Rumble pay-per-view ends and she flies back to Colombia. So, that's why, I put her at number 2 because I think it's... If you ask me to put money on it, I'd say Ronda. But like I said, I still have my doubts because Ronda's a really hard book to read, or a hard person to get something out of. So that's why I think Ronda is only number 2. And number 1, numéro 1, is the boss, Sasha Banks. Now, I think Sasha's at number 1 because I think ever since she returned, she hasn't really been primed for anything big. Like, she had the Becky feud, but... the Clash of Champions match, and then with a DQ by Becky, and then they did the Hell in a Cell match, and just when it looked like it was primed for Sasha to grab the belt, she lost, moved to SmackDown to be reunited with her friend Bayley, and they focused a lot on Bayley and Sasha's friendship. Ever since Sasha came back, Bayley was always being talked about Sasha, then Bayley turned heel, ironically, because of Sasha. No, she tried to say it's because she was tired of being overlooked, but I think it's sort of obvious that it was because she wanted to help her best friend Sasha. Bailey has a new gimmick, which a lot of people, they're sort of hinting that it could be Sasha's influence. Sasha came back with the blue hair, the new theme, and everything. And Bailey sort of wanted to do the same thing for herself. This seems to be a story that they're investing a lot of just by watching weekly shows. And I think this is the time to do that story. Because I have a feeling if this Sasha does win, I believe Sasha will be established as the heel and Bailey as the babyface heading into WrestleMania. Even though a lot of people are saying that Bailey should stay heel to legitimize her heel gimmick. But then Sasha, who's been on fire as a heel ever since coming back, sort of maybe stabbing that in the heart and stopping that like out of nowhere would be a little bit weird. But I do think Sasha, to me, is the pick for the one that should win. I know Simon, he talked to me about Alexa Bliss, which I'm sure he has his reasoning for it. But I just think Sasha, to me, is the best pick. And I think it's time to finally do that Bailey versus Sasha story. Have Sasha win, have her teach she's going after Becky, then have her finally pick Bailey, turn on Bailey. And Bailey, even though now she'll be more of a babyface, maybe even a tweener, she's not the hugger. She's not the pathetic, hugger who's scared of everyone, doesn't want to fight anyone. When Sasha stabbed her in the back before, she was crying about it. She was sad about it. Now if she gets stabbed in the back, she should have been like, I should have seen it coming, and it's expected of you, and I don't give a fuck. Have badass Bailey against badass heel Sasha going at WrestleMania. That should be the best women's match that they could possibly book for that. The men's Rumble match is up next. I do have a feeling the men's Rumble could main event this year. I have a feeling it will because of Brock. But we'll see. So men's Rumble match with Brock Lesnar entering number 1. It is a non-title Rumble match. So the Universal, WWE title will not be on the line. I actually said Fiend versus Bryan was for the WWE title. But it's for the Universal title. So I fucked up. So this Rumble match, Brock is in it, the WWE Champion, starting number 1. So my top 3 picks. At number 3, I have Drew McIntyre. This would be my sort of dark horse pick for him to win. I feel like they've slowly been turning him babyface. And he seems to be getting distant reactions out of the crowd. I don't know if this will be permanent. They seem to be teasing maybe going into more of a road against Randy versus Drew later on after the Rumble, which could be interesting. Could be a good feud for both of them. Moves Randy on from AJ and Drew moves him to something else. But I think if Drew does that, Drew will transition back into being the heel. And I think Drew, they've been sort of priming him up for this big run. He's been squashing people. He's been having competitive matches. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up winning this one. I know he's not a high pick for a lot of people, but to me, I wouldn't mind him winning. I think he should win, but there's 2 other people. One other person I think will win or could win, and the one person I think that should win. At number 2, numero dos, I have the returning Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez. Now, the reason I'm saying that he's probably made this match, that he's still somewhat associated with WWE. Earlier in the month, he was doing promotion for WWE moving to BT Sports for Raw and SmackDown. He was doing that over in the UK. And he's sort of been, slowly maybe putting himself back into the company to maybe prime himself for this. And him probably eliminating Brock to win the Rumble wouldn't surprise me. I think that they'll probably have Kane eliminate Brock to do that match. But I do not think Kane will win, which is why I put him at number 2. If I was sure Kane was going to win, I would put him number 1 definitely. I think Kane could win. I think they should do that role with Brock. Knock it out right now, get rid of it. Because if they try to, we're going to build up to it, then we're going to do something at Mania with him, but we're not going to have the match. We'll do something at SummerSlam for him, not going to have the match. And, just get it over with, have Kane do his thing. And if Kane really wants to be a full-time wrestler, he can go on and feud with someone else. But Kane is my number 2 pick. And my number 1 pick is my fellow Quebecois, Mr. Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens should win the Royal Rumble match. I think he's primed as a big baby face. He's doing great things against Rollins. He's been somewhat on fire since he did this feud with Shane, which is interesting to say. Because not a lot of people liked anything Shane did last year, which is ironic. but I think this could be the perfect time for Kevin to win the Rumble match. He can even eliminate Brock. If he doesn't, I don't really mind. But I think Kevin should win the Royal Rumble. He's my personal pick. I think he should win. I wouldn't put money on him, which is sad, but I think he definitely should win. I think he's, like I said, he's been on fire. He's been doing great. He's been a really good, anti-establishment babyface. Now he's with the feud with Seth. So I don't know. Maybe this could lead to him eliminating like a Buddy Murphy or Seth in the Rumble, and then AOP getting revenge in the Rumble later on. So it could be interesting to win. But if I had to pick anyone, I would have to pick Kevin Owens to win the Royal Rumble. So these are my picks for tomorrow night's Royal Rumble event. To recap, Andrade retains. Sheamus squashes Shorty G. Becky retains but gets tagged by Asuka after. Bayley retains via distraction by Sasha and a roll-up. The Fiend retains clean over Bryan. 2-2-2. Roman beats Corbin when the Usos and fucking Corbin's boyfriends get involved. Sasha Banks is your 2020 Women's Royal Rumble match winner. And Kevin Owens is your 2020 Men's Royal Rumble winner. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our Fellow Page Guy channel. Make sure to leave a thumbs up. And I will talk to you all very soon. We're on the road to WrestleMania. Tomorrow's Royal Rumble. Make sure to stay tuned for reviews of the event. And hopefully, possibly some content from tonight's Worlds Collide event from Houston, Texas. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a very good night.